Yeah, I think we've got to start with United again because, certainly on this occasion, because that was another abysmal performance when you look at the opposition. That's the key here.
Yeah.
Hapless Huddersfield, who could hardly win a game this season, seems to me been relegated weeks and weeks ago. Everybody's trampled over them. And you've got Huddersfield and Cardiff to give yourself an improbable chance, but not an impossible chance, to get in the top four and guarantee Champions League football next year. You've got Tottenham falling over themselves. They've got Everton, which is a tough game. You've got Arsenal, we know, are not in good form and are weak away from home. They got Burnley. And you have two relegated teams and you can't pick up the points is absolutely abysmal. And I think it just tells you where they are as a football club, as a squad, and even as a management, because I've said it once and I'll say it again, if you want to laud Ole Gunnar Solskjaer for the job that, and I know these are not his players, but if you want to laud him for coming in and picking everybody up, then you can't not justify some criticism, not all, but some criticism for some of these recent results and performances. One can't go without the other.
It's incredible when you take a look at the last 11 games. This is after that PSG result, after that extraordinary comeback in Paris. Just the 2 wins, 7 defeats, 2 draws. I want to kind of focus on today. How does that happen?
I don't know. Listen, you've got all to play for in terms of Manchester United and their own aspirations, albeit you're asking favours from somebody else, but you've got to do your job first. A couple of weeks ago, Marcus Rashford was a little bit critical, or very critical, of their performance against City, saying these are the games that we simply don't lose. And it's true. It speaks to a mentality that's been lost by Manchester United. Manchester United under Sir Alex Ferguson, as we say this time and time again, what they did better than anybody else is win the games that they were supposed to win. Everybody else could look at top 6 tables and whatnot, but Manchester United won every game that they were supposed to. Now all of a sudden you look at this Manchester United, and it's to say it's a shadow of its former self is an understatement.
Craig, you brought this stat to my attention today, and you've had some terrible stats over the last couple of days, but this is quite an extraordinary one. This is unbelievable. Just explain this to us.
So the bottom 3 who are relegated had not picked up 1 point against the the top 6 teams in the Premier League. So up until this game today, 34 games have been played between the top 6 and the bottom 3 relegated teams, and the bottom 3 had been spanked every time. So up popped Manchester United.
It's unbelievable.
And eventually, on the penultimate weekend of the Premier League, Huddersfield are the team that takes a point off one of the top 6, which I think just sums the whole situation up. It sums Man United up. This is a club that's rudderless from the top. You know, the playing squad is poor, very poor for a club of this standard. You have, you know, ultimately, you have defenders that are not good enough. You've got full-backs for the last few years that are actually converted wingers. You know, Valencia and Young and so on. And OK, at times they've done a decent job, particularly Valencia, but he's still a converted winger. For Manchester United, I mean, really. And the Glazers, I mean, the fans are asking questions, but do the Glazers ever ask, you know, is Ed Woodward the right guy to run this football club? If the answer is yes, he's making his money, then fine. But the answer is the football strategic decisions have been abysmal. And I include the overzealous hiring full-time of Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. At what point is a man who's managing in Norway to the standard he is the fit to take Manchester United forward? And I've said that 100 times. But somebody's made that decision. They're going to have to stick with it now. He's talking about this is a Europa League squad. Well, that's fair enough. But a Europa League squad should still be good enough to get results against the teams that they've played recently, and particularly Huddersfield today. I mean, it stinks from the top down. You've got a goalkeeper who is, I believe, according to reports, has been given a take it or leave it contract offer. So we don't know how that's going to work out. You've got a midfielder in Pogba who has long looked as if he doesn't want to be there. And you've got half the squad plus who shouldn't be there full time. So
plus Alexis Sanchez on 500 grand.
Plus him picking up, which was another poor decision from Ed Woodward. And they're probably still paying a couple. They're probably still paying Mourinho. They're probably still paying Van Gaal.
Yeah.
Who knows? David Moyes may still be on the payroll. I don't know. The whole thing just stinks of poor decision after poor decision after poor decision on the football front. Yes, they might be making money for the shareholders. I don't know. I don't really delve into those things too much. I look at the playing squad and I look at the decisions being made. And I'll say it again, you know, apart from his mates in the media, who else would think that a nice fella like Ole Gunnar Solskjaer would be the man to get Man United out of this pickle long term? Is
this the worst pickle they've been in since Fergie left?
Yes, because Moyes was in there and there wasn't that much damage done in 7 months. And then obviously, you know, Van Gaal comes in and the problems are still there. And then in all fairness, as much as he was poor this year, and he brought it on himself, I said this to you earlier, Mourinho did take this squad to second place.
Yeah, and we laughed when he boasted about that, wouldn't we? He kind of came out and said it's one of the greatest achievements.
I've said all along, what I thought happened was, he took him to second, he realised through his experience that what was needed. He came to the US here in the summer. He wasn't getting what he wanted. He was on the phone and he looked miserable and he was not getting the transfers. And I thought he sacked it then. He thought, I need out of here then. So he gave up the ghost. I'm not saying that's right, but I think that's what happened. So ultimately he got them to second and then thought, I'm dealing with this guy, Ed Woodward, who hasn't got a clue. He's not bringing the players in we need. This is going downhill. His attitude was terrible. That came through to the players. Then when Solskjaer comes in, which wasn't a bad decision as a short-term decision. I had no problems with that. They picked up and got some great results. Then Woodward couldn't wait to get the bit of paper out to give him the contract because guess what? That's going to make me look good with the fans. Yeah. I'm going to get the fans back and say, I'm going to get Ole's the man. He's the man. Get him on paper. Another bad decision. And it's just one bad decision after another and after another. And look at the distance between them and Liverpool and City. It's miles.
Am I stretching things here? For example, if I'm a player, I think this could be the first time this has ever been the case, I would prefer to go to Tottenham Hotspur than Manchester United.
Yes, I think so. I think you're right in saying that this is probably the first time you're seeing that. And to your previous question about this being the biggest pickle that they've found themselves in, I think the further removed we get from Sir Alex Ferguson and that era, the more desperate it becomes for Manchester United. It's not the first time they finished outside the top four and they've rebounded from that to finish second. But the trouble is right now, given the distance between Manchester United and not just City and Liverpool, but I think I think Spurs as well, given the fact that I'm not really sure that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer is the manager that brings a player to the club, a club without Champions League football. This is a huge concern. You look at Mauricio Pochettino, you look at what Spurs are doing and what you expect them to be about to do, given their new stadium, given that they've had pretty much a hiatus on spending over the last couple of seasons, you expect that to change. And right now, you think in Spurs is the better club to be at.
And it's not just Spurs, so many clubs are going to be busy
around the world.
Are going to be busy this summer. And the problem is now, as Manchester United, you can't rely on just throwing money at people because other teams can do that. And also, you're going to have to rely on a manager with experience and tactical nous, which Solskjaer hasn't proved. And this would be a real concern for me if you're a United fan, knowing that you can't just throw money at these problems and it will get solved. No. You're going to have to be clever in the transfer market. You're going to have to trust your manager, who, over the last 2 months, has just seen his world collapse.
And you know, we've got to get away from... No, we don't have to, but some people have to get away with the fact that you can't call Solskjaer a novice. He's been managing quite a long time, you know. He's been managing quite a long time in Norway and in England. Just not with any great success. But the fact is he was a Man United player and he had success for them. So he's the man that's going to take them forward. And there are people, stupid people, very stupid people, who have said, well, it worked for Zidane and it worked for Pep Guardiola. You can't ring-fence those as three people in the same category. Because Zidane didn't... I think he only signed... We didn't sign a player. Maybe one player. The squad was there. You know, Xavi, Busquets, Iniesta were coming through. Yep. Eto'o was there, Messi was there, Henry. You know, there was problems at Barcelona that you had to fix, but you had the nucleus. There's no nucleus at Man United. There is no nucleus. You know, Pogba will probably leave. They want to try and cash in him. If De Gea goes, which is a good possibility, how do you attract people? The only way you can attract people is throw piles of cash at it. So you're overpaying for everybody. Yeah. And the problem worsens. And meanwhile, other clubs, strategically it would seem, have got a much better business model. Yes, United have the money, they have the clout, but do they have the know-all and the experience to go out and do things properly? And I think the answer to that, clearly in the last 5 years or whatever it is, has been no. Categoric no.